I think I'm recording now. Okay, like I was saying, let me just start from the beginning again. Programming assignment 2, you're going to be simulating a UDP client and a UDP server in Mininet on 2 hosts. So the server is going to run on host 1, the client's going to run on host 2. You can find the starter files in this zip file link here, and then you're going to want to download this and extract it, and then you have to move it to your Mininet virtual machine following, where are they? These instructions here, how to copy a file from your PC to the Mininet. And it's going to be different depending on whether you have Windows or Mac. So I'm going to be following instructions B, which is using PuTTY, their secure file transfer protocol tool, to transfer the files from your PC to the Mininet virtual machine. So I have, I think I already opened it, but let me just close my terminal. So on Windows, you can right click and then press open in terminal. And now I'm in that directory in my terminal. So you don't have to start from the root directory and then work your way in. So to transfer these files, I'm going to follow the instructions here. So I'm going to have to start PSFTP. So I'll go ahead and start that by running PSFTP. And now I've started my PuTTY secure file transfer protocol tool. And now I need to connect to the Mininet virtual machine. So it says in the instructions to open Mininet at and then the Mininet IP address. So let me go ahead and type that. Mininet at and so open Mininet at, and now I need to go find the Mininet IP address. So I'm going to go to my Mininet virtual machine, which I've already logged into up here. And now I'm going to type if config. And my Mininet virtual machine IP address is going to be this number here. So 192.168.56.103. So I'll go ahead and enter that in my terminal. Let me see if I can. So Mininet at 192.168.103. So I run that, and then it gives me some message. I'm not sure what this is. I'm just going to say yes. Return cancels connection. Store key in cache. Okay, so I'll just store it in cache. And now it's asking for my Mininet password. So I'll just type. Can you guys see, by the way? No. No? Okay, that's a little better, right? Okay, so I'm typing in my Mininet password and it doesn't show my characters, so hopefully I'll get it right. Okay, so my remote working directory is Mininet. So now I need to move the files, the Python files, to Mininet. So if I go back to my instructions, it says put and then the directory of your files. So let me open that over here. And now I'm going to type put and then // for my current working directory. And then I'll type UDP client.py. So that's the file that I'm moving. And then I need to move it to home/mininet/UDP client.py. So I'm moving it from my local machine to Mininet. And it gives me this arrow saying that it did it successfully. So now I need to do the same thing for my server file. So let me rename it on the Mininet side and the file name here. So I've hopefully transferred that to my Mininet, and I can check by running ls, and I see my 2 files here. So it looks like I did it. Okay, so now we need to change the code to get them successfully running. So one option is to open them in something like Visual Studio Code and then transfer them over, but you'll have to test them in the Mininet environment, so you'd have to like transfer them repeatedly. So there's a text editor in Mininet called Nano, and it kind of sucks, but it gets the job done. So nano UDP client.py. And yeah, it's painful to use, but you can you could it's easier than transferring the file every time you want to test it. So yeah, I need to plug in my this is the client. The host is going to be running on host one. So let me actually exit nano real quickly, and I'll run the actual mininet with sudo mn. So I'm running Mininet, and now I need to find out the IP address of my server. So I'll do H, my server is going to run on host one. So I'll write H1 if config, and I get my inet address for my server. So I'll just write that, and where should I write that? I'll exit my PSFTP and I'll write it here. So 10.0.0.1. And now I'm going to go back to editing my UDP client file. So I forget if it's exit. Yeah, so I exited my Mininet and now I need to reopen. So I'm going to press the up arrow key and then I get to see my previous commands. And now I need to add the server IP address, which is the number that I got from ifconfig. So I'll type 10.0.0.1, and then my port number can be any number between like 1024 and like four. I forget the number, but anything after 1000, I'll just use 1025. But there's like a range of ports that are specified for the user, I guess. So I have that for my server. My message being sent is hello world. So this line here is what's called a context manager. It opens like a context in which the socket object which you're creating with socket.socket exists. And the code inside it will execute while socket.socket exists. And then when you run that code, it will exit and then it will close the context, basically. So you're opening a context with a socket object. This parameter is saying that we're using IPv4 addresses. I'm not sure why AF INET. This is saying that we're using our socket type is a datagram, and datagram is UDP. So this is a UDP socket that we're creating. We have an alias here, so we're just calling our socket object S. We're connecting to that's funny. So we're connecting to the host to our server in this line here. We're not making a persistent connection. We're just telling the socket that we want to connect on this particular IP address and this particular port. So we're declaring a message string. We're encoding it into bytes because we need to send the message in bytes over the UDP socket. We can't just send the string directly. We need to convert it into bytes, which the UDP socket can send. And then, so we're sending our bytes here in this line, and then we're waiting for a response from the server in this line here with this socket.receive. And 1024 is the maximum byte size. I know that's close to the port number, but it's irrelevant to the port number. It's the maximum number of bytes that we can receive on this socket. And then we print the message and then we're done. So I'll go ahead and press Control X to save that. And then I'll press Y. Yes, I want to save it. And my file name is udpclient.py. So I enter and now that's saved. So I need to do the same thing for my server now. So I'll type nano udp underscore server.py. And I need to, so this part was a little bit confusing to me. I messed this up. But you need to use so this is the server, right? You need to use the server's IP address again. You'll get the IP address of the client when it sends you a message, which is counterintuitive in my opinion. But so I'll add my server IP address, which I got from h1 ifconfig.0.1, and my port number is going to be the same as my client, which was 1025. So in this one, I'm this line here, we're setting up the socket the same way with the context manager. This line here, instead of connecting, we're binding, which the difference there, I think, is that we're listening instead of sending. So we're binding the socket to this port and we're listening. And if anybody knows differently, let me know. So we're printing that it's running while true, so we have an infinite while loop, and we're waiting for data from our client. So when we receive data from the client, we'll store it in this data variable, and then we'll store the actual address of the client, the IP address of the client, in this variable here, address. So those are the responses that we'll get from this message, this s dot received from 1024, and that's the byte size again. So if not data, then we break. So if it's an empty message, then we'll break the while loop and move to the next iteration, I believe. And then this is us sending our response. So we're reading the data and we're just sending it right back. The lab, okay, so the programming assignment, I believe you have to make it like an infinite loop to where the client will repeatedly send a message to the server that you have to input. And then you have some like condition where it will end. So I forget what the condition was, but when the client enters a certain input, then the loops will end and then it will shut down. So in order to do that, let me first test and see if this runs. So I'll control X and then Y, save. So I'll run my mini network again. I'll press the up arrow key to my sudo mn, sudo meaning run, and then mini network. And now I can run my my client and server files, and hopefully this works. So I'll run my server on H1, my host one, and that will be, I'll have to run it with Python 3, the command Python 3, and then UDP server.py. And if I would run it like this, then it would only start my server. I need to start both my client and my server. So if I write and, then I'll start my server in the background. So I'll press enter. And now on H2, I'm going to start my client. So UDP client.py. So yeah, I think this sent a message to the server from the client being hello world, and then the server sent it back. So if I were to modify that, I'll exit my Mininet, nano UDP client.py. So if I wanted to change this from hello world to the user input, I could do the function input, and then I think this is right. So enter a string. So that's waiting for the user input and telling them to enter a string. So I'll save that. And then I'll run my Mininet again and see if it works. So H1 UDP server.py and to run it in the background. And then we're running UDP client in the foreground. So that's going to be the output we see. We're not going to see the output from the server because it's running in the background. So debugging, like you won't see the output from the server. So I'll run my client, and it does seem that I have an error. Input is not defined. Uh, is it supposed to be capital or something? I don't know. Oh yeah, so it's lowercase. Okay, so yeah, it is pretty tedious, but to debug it. But I'll exit my Mininet and then I'll open my client again and change it to lowercase. Save, run my Mininet. Okay, so it looks like the input's working now. So I'll send a string. Hi, my name is Sean. I don't know what that's going to send. Hi, my name is Sean. Okay, so it seems to be working. So if we look back at the assignment, uh, so it's saying to do an infinite loop where the server will take the message from the client, capitalize it, turn it to uppercase, and then send it back to the client. So my client's good. Now I need to update my server. So right now I'm just sending the message back. I think I need to decode it. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. So if not data, so I need to do data dot decode, and then the parameter is going to be UTF-8. So UTF is like the standard for converting the characters to bytes, I think. Not 100% sure about that. Now let me declare a variable. String data is equal to the decoded version of that. So I've gotten my message in bytes. I'm decoding it and saving it to a string. Now let me do an uppercase. So upper data is equal to string data, and I don't quite remember. I think it's just dot upper, but I could be wrong. Anyway, I'll try it. Dot upper case, and then let me encode the upper data. So let me do byte data is equal to upper data dot encode UTF-8. And now I'll pass in my byte data as the parameter instead. And hopefully that works. It probably won't. Um, okay, yeah, so that's not working. Um, it seems like it's let me run it by itself. So I'll press Control C to interrupt, and let me get rid of the and see if I can get an output. So yeah, it looks like I have an output. I have an error. So that it's not the uppercase function. So let me go on. Uh, is it just dot upper? Okay, let me try that. Thank you. So Control C, exit, nano UDP server dot py. So dot upper, save it. Um, and now let me just run it. Okay, so that seemed to fix it. Thank you. Uh, and and now I'll run my client. I'll enter the string hi, and it sends it back in uppercase. So that's part of the assignment. Another part of the assignment is to make it an infinite loop. I forget what the escape condition was. Let me go look. Is what? Done? Okay. Okay, so let me exit. Nano UDP server.py. So yeah, there's different ways that you could do this. I'm gonna do a Boolean variable is running is equal to true, capital T, I think. And then while is running, and so that's gonna go until it gets set to false somehow. So I'll go ahead and check my string. So I'm decoding my data from bytes to a string and saving it into string data. Let me check string data and see if it's done. And if it is, then I'll set is running to false, and that should escape the loop, right? Hopefully. So one thing is I was almost tempted to do it. If you mix tabs and spaces, it throws errors, and that is super annoying. So if I try and tab, it's not gonna work. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's pain. Okay, so string data. So I'm checking if my string data is equal to done. So if string data is equal to the string done, then let me do a colon. I did tab. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to set is running to false. So that should, when the string data is equal to done, it should exit the while loop, hopefully. Oh, it won't because I used lowercase false. Okay, save that. And now let me do the same thing for my client. Okay, so I need to create a while loop this time. I think it's after the connection. While is running, and then I'll create a is running is equal to true, and then while is running, and I have to fix all the indentation manually. There might be a better way. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and now, so I'm making the infinite loop, and I just need to check if my message input is going to be equal to done. So there's no decoding or necessary. So if message equals the string done, then I will. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is running is equal to false. Is that right? I think. Oh, so let me move my print with, so Python doesn't have brackets. It just uses indentation. So if I just move print back to and give it the same indentation, it will be inside the context of this while loop. So it will repeatedly, hopefully repeatedly print received and then the data until I enter done. So let's see. Enter a string. Hi. Cool. And now I'll enter done. Sweet. I did not expect that to work. So I think that's pretty much the lab. I think that's it. Yeah, so CSUMB, CST, what do we have to submit? So you have to submit your files. Submit screenshots. Okay, screenshots, CST, hello. Yeah, I think that's it. If not, let me know. I'll stop recording now.